The team lists are in, and Craig Bellamy has shocked just about everyone. Instead of resting stars and coasting into the finals, he's named a near full-strength Melbourne Storm side. And with Harry Grant the only real absentee through injury, Thursday night at Suncorp suddenly looks a whole lot bigger than anyone expected. G'day Broncos fans, welcome back to the Old School Broncos podcast. Today, we're diving deep into the Broncos clash with the Melbourne Storm. Our bogey side, our nightmare, but also our measuring stick. There's plenty on the line, and this one could decide whether Brisbane march into the finals with momentum and a top four finish or slip back into the pack. Now let's get into the big talking point. Craig Bellamy's call to name his guns. Last week, Melbourne rolled out a weakened team against the Roosters and got belted in the second half. They looked disjointed, flat, and lacking leadership. You could see Bellamy sitting there in the box animated and less than impressed. He even used the word embarrassing in the post-game presser. The expectation was that this week he'd double down on resting his players. Why risk Papenhuyzen's glass body? Why put Munster under unnecessary strain? And why send those big forwards into a fire that literally won't change the ladder position? They're locked into second place, and that's not going to change. But Bellamy has pivoted. He's thrown his stars back in, chasing cohesion and sharpness instead of freshness. He doesn't want to stumble into the finals, and he wants to set the right tone. He wants his playmakers humming and his pack hardened before September. And here's the gamble. It's high risk, but high reward. Because what happens if one of his key players cops a knock or a suspension? We only have to look back at the last time these two sides met. That night, Brisbane lost 3 players to injury, 2 of them in the same play. It ruined our rhythm, derailed our momentum, and left us scrambling. If that happens to Melbourne, suddenly their premiership campaign is on shaky ground before it even begins. So Bellamy is walking a tightrope. He's prioritising rhythm over rest, but he's playing with fire. On the flip side, Broncos have everything to gain. Sitting back in fourth, they must win Thursday to stay there. Lose, and we're sweating on the Sharks or the Warriors slipping up. We could drop as low as 6th, and the double chance is gone. Finals becomes a sudden death scrap from week 1. That's a nightmare scenario. This game is our opportunity to lock it down on our own terms. Hiakura's return to the starting pack is massive. His edge defence and mongrel are exactly what's needed against Melbourne forwards. They love to bully their way into dominance, and he's just the guy to stop them. The bigger story, though, is Gemmet Shibasaki being left out. He's been a revelation, even earned himself an Origin jersey, but reports say he turned up to training after a Sunday bender and fell foul of team standards. Madge Maguire has shown he won't compromise on discipline. Harsh? Maybe. Necessary? Absolutely. In September footy, you can't afford to take in passengers. But let's be real. No matter who's wearing maroon and gold, Melbourne always seem to spook us. They are, without question, Brisbane's bogey side. The stats don't lie. Since the Storm entered the competition in '98, the head-to-head record is brutally one-sided. We've had a handful of wins here and there, but Melbourne have strung together streaks of dominance that feel never-ending. There have been seasons where we couldn't buy a victory against them. Some of the most painful memories in Broncos history have Melbourne's fingerprints all over them. Think back to the 2008 semi-final. Melbourne break our hearts with a last-minute Greg Inglis try. 2017 preliminary final, 1 game away from the grand final, and the Storm smash us 30-0, ending our season in a brutal fashion. Then again in 2019, round 20, another home game and another hammering, 40-4 that time. Feels like the Storm have an extra gear against Brisbane that they don't always find against other clubs. They know how to frustrate us, slow the ruck, get under our skin, and turn our natural flair into panic. And it's not just about tactics, it's personal. Craig Bellamy cut his teeth under Wayne Bennett. He always carried that little edge, wanting to outdo his old mentor and prove his system is superior. Cameron Smith who grew up a Broncos fan, spent his career making us pay for overlooking him as a junior. And the fact that Melbourne's foundation was built on ex-Broncos and Bulldogs from the 90s, there's a rivalry just in that. But here's the thing, hoodoos are meant to be broken. This new Broncos side, led by Reece Walsh, Tony Staggs and Payne Haas, isn't weighed down by all those past scars. They're too young to remember the nightmares of 2008 through to 2017. For them, the Storm are just another team to beat. And when you mix that youthful fearlessness with the leadership of veterans like Hunt and Carrigan, you start to see the blueprint for change. So yes, history is ugly, but history doesn't win games. Players do. And on this Thursday night, Brisbane has the chance to finally flip the script. But don't think the home ground advantage will save us. The Storm don't fear Suncorp. In fact, they thrive there. Their record in Brisbane is better than it is at Amy Park. They feed off the big stage, the big crowd and the noise. For guys like Munster, Hughes and Papenhuyzen, it's like fuel. Part of the reason is just how often they play there. Between Magic Round every season, clashes against the Dolphins and the regular blockbuster fixtures against Brisbane, the Storm are basically part-time residents at Suncorp. It's not a ground that feels foreign to them anymore, it's a second nature. And then you've got the Melbourne-Queensland connection. People have joked that the Storm is just another Queensland team. So many of their legends were Maroons, Smith, Cronk, Slater, Inglis, that the purple jersey built up a massive following north of the border. Even today, you'll see plenty of fans at Suncorp in purple cheering just as loud as the Broncos supporters. It's not always a hostile environment for Melbourne. Sometimes it almost feels like a neutral venue. So when Brisbane run out to a packed Suncorp on Thursday, don't expect the Storm to be rattled. They're used to it, they're comfortable, and they'll treat it like home. The weather forecast? Dry and low 20s or high teens. Perfect night for footy. That suits both sides. Walsh, Hunt and Staggs will lick their lips at the chance to run, but the Storm's structured play and support running thrive just as much. One loose pass, one rushed kick, and Melbourne will pounce. If Brisbane are to finally shake the curse, we need to win the middle. Haas and Carrigan have to boss the ruck. Walsh must play composed footy. Flair when it's on, but patience when it's not. Hunt and Walters need to control territory with smart kicking. Discipline, discipline, discipline. No piggyback penalties. This isn't just about talent. It's about belief. For too long, the sight of the purple jersey has got into Brisbane's heads. If the Broncos can break the mental barrier, it changes the whole narrative heading into the final. But here's where I land on it all. To be the best, you have to beat the best. And whether we like it or not, the Storm are the hurdle we'll have to clear at some point if we're going to win this competition. Beating them now, at full strength, would be the ultimate statement. It puts us on the opposite side of the finals draw, meaning we'd only meet them in the grand final if all goes to plan. So yes, it's risky. Yes, it's scary. But what better way to head into September than by finally knocking over the bogey side in front of our home crowd with everything on the line. And that's the challenge, Bronx Nation. Craig Bellamy has rolled the dice by playing his stars. The bogey team is in full force and Suncorp won't spook them in one bit. But this is exactly the kind of game you dream of. Underdog mentality, history stacked against us, and a chance to prove ourselves when it matters most. Win on Thursday night, and it's not just 2 competition points, it's a statement. It's belief and it's momentum. And it sets us up for the finals run where the Storm might only cross our path again if we meet them in the grand final. Thanks for listening to this episode. If you're as fired up as I am, share this around, get your mates talking, and let's fill Suncorp with noise. This is the Old School Broncos podcast. Let's go, Broncos.